Hey y'all, my name is Stephen Lights. I'm the owner and founder of Workforce 2080. In this video, we're going to cover 5 things you need to do before you terminate somebody. Let's jump into those. So item number one of the first things you need to do before you terminate somebody is you need to ensure that you're not violating any laws. There's so many out there and it's such a broad scope that it's hard to cover it in a short video. But one of the main things you need to be looking for are making sure you're not violating laws like Title VII, which include race, gender, national origin. Also ensuring that you're not violating any laws on ADA, a person's disability, and then, of course, even age discrimination, pregnancy discrimination. There's a variety of different laws out there that protect your employees, and you need to do everything you possibly can to make sure that you're not putting yourself or your organization in a position where when you terminate somebody that you're going to violate any laws. So that's one of the first things you need to do is make sure you're not violating any laws. The second thing you need to do is you need to check in and ensure that this person does not have a contract. If this is a 1099 contractor, apparently, and obviously you can terminate that contract, but you need to look at it. You need to dig into that employee or contractor's personnel file to ensure that this person doesn't have a contractually bounded employment. Employment in general here in the state of Louisiana, but every state is different, but here in the state of Louisiana, employment is at will. Therefore, you can terminate for any reason with or without notice, and the employee can quit with or without notice. However, it's not always the safest thing to do just to terminate somebody just because you feel like it or just because you don't like them. Sometimes you need to go through a little bit more progressive disciplinary process before you start to proceed forward with that. But clearly you need to ensure that this person doesn't have any type of contract that could potentially affect what you're about to do, especially if they're a high profile employee in your organization, like a CDO, a vice president of operations, a COO, one of your executive suites. Typically, they're going to have a contract that bounds them to time, and then you're going to have to go through specific processes to terminate their employment. But that also ends with they may be having exit packages that you have to be aware of, like severance agreements, or as they call them in the corporate world, golden parachute programs. The other thing you need to be familiar with is disciplinary documentation. If you're about to terminate somebody, you shouldn't just terminate them because you don't like them. And I'm of the understanding, especially in the professional world, that you don't want to just let go of somebody just because you don't like them. I don't think that's the safest thing you can do. If you don't like the person or you don't feel like they fit the mold, maybe you need to try and coach this person first to see if they can be coached, or to see if they can improve their performance. Sometimes it just comes down to having a simple conversation. We call it the come to Jesus talk in the HR world, where you tell the person what the expectation is and that they need to move forward in this manner, or if they don't, then their employment will be terminated. Now, gathering disciplinary documentation doesn't necessarily mean this person had a track record. They could have violated a rule for your organization, and that results in immediate termination. They may have stolen money from you if that's fraudulent or any type of theft. Sometimes you don't have to go through progressive disciplinary process, but if you're about to terminate somebody for their performance, you definitely want to take the time to ensure that you have that progressive disciplinary documentation on hand. So when you make your final decision, you've looked through all of it to ensure that you didn't miss any steps. One of the other key things you need to do is you need to ensure you check into state law. Every state's different. The rules in every state are different. There's plenty of them to go around. So here in the state of Louisiana, if I terminate somebody, I have to provide a separation notice. Now, when I pay out their final wages, I have to pay that by the next pay period. But in some states, you actually have to pay it immediately to the person, depending on if it was a voluntary or an involuntary termination. And your state could be different. If you're struggling to figure out what your state laws are for termination of employment, if there's a separation notice required, or even if wages need to be paid out immediately or upon separation or within a period of time, I have a free termination checklist that you can use on my website, workforce2080.com. If you click down in the description below, you can use that free checklist as much as you would like. And it's supposed to help you pick your state and choose exactly what you need to do, but more importantly, bring to light some of the things you need to keep in mind before you terminate this person. One of the other big things you need to do before you terminate this person is you need to find a effective place to have this meeting. One of the worst things I think you can do is terminate a person right in the middle of the day or in the beginning of the day in an office full of people, especially if their coworkers and their peers see you and your office is a fishbowl. And what I mean by that is it's full of glass and there's no privacy. That's probably one of the worst things you can do. You probably need to talk to HR about a meeting space in your organization that's a little bit more secluded, a little bit more private, and maybe less prone to having people see what's going on in this meeting, because people start asking questions like, ooh, someone's getting called into the principal's office, so he's about to get canned. You don't want that sort of thing being pushed around, especially on that person, because again, it's going to be one of the worst days of their lives, most probably, when they are terminated. So you want to make sure and give that person the dignity and not embarrassing them in front of their peers, because again, it's not a fun thing. And when you're about to terminate somebody, the best thing you can do is be honest, but again, be short and concise. Don't say too much, don't say too little. Make it simple enough to say that when you're about to terminate somebody, you need to be clear about why you're separating their employment. You need to say, due to XYZ of performance or disciplinary actions that we've had with you and the repeated effort to try and turn your performance or your behavior around, we are just not seeing progress in the way that we would like. So therefore, we'd like to separate your employment effective immediately. And it can end just like that. And you can move forward with the rest of it to say, what we're going to do is we're going to help you gather your things. We're going to help you collect your personal belongings. We'll ensure that we pack it for you, and we'll make sure you can come and grab it after hours. We don't want you to have to walk to your desk and go collect that stuff in the middle of your coworkers or the middle of the day. Again, you're trying not to embarrass this person. You want to do everything you can to let them leave with dignity, but also do it in a respectful way. Terminating employment is not a simple decision, especially on the person that receives it, because they have a flood of emotions that are hitting themselves as this is happening. Now, I know this sounds cliche and sounds a little weird, especially if you're a small company, but if you feel like this person could potentially pose a security risk, it may be good to have a security personnel from your company present, depending on if this person is exhibiting any type of threatening behavior or anything that you could potentially see as being dangerous. If you're a small company, you can't necessarily do that, but you might be able to hire a contract security service just to help you in light if something may happen. But hopefully this is not something you'll ever have to employ. Most people, when you're terminating them, will probably go to their car, very embarrassed, and break down in their car and then drive away. I'm not saying that's every situation, but sometimes it's good to have security present just in case you feel like there may be a security risk that's posed. So those are the 5 things I believe you need to do to be effective at terminating employment with employees. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, like and subscribe to the video. I'm really excited to give these types of tips to you, and just be on the lookout for more tips and tricks from me. And I'll be very excited to provide those to you in the future. And until then, y'all take care.